I've been having a little think and decided to come on and do a little conversation, or one-sided conversation maybe, about not taking it personally. And I've if you haven't read it, the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz is a really good book to get a handle on. Hi Miranda. It's a really good book to get a handle on. Well, I'll read them out to you. So that he talks about the Four Agreements, which the first one is be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally, and don't make assumptions, and always do your best. And I was thinking about this, don't take things personally, because in the Healing Parents group that I've got, when we've been estranged, like, we're really hypersensitive to anything that people say or do, and we take it personally and it hurts. We make it about us, and more often than not, blame the other person for being tactless or not considering our feelings, or just being clumsy, really. Or sometimes we'll think that they've got an intention to hurt us, so we do take it personally. And there is a saying that goes around, don't take anything personally. What other people think or say or do has nothing to do with us, other than us looking after ourselves if they're being violent, etc. But there is a tendency to take it personally and put it on the other person, as to, can they not see how hurtful that is, or what they've just done is really, or said is really hurtful to me. A lot of us will just bottle it up and not say anything back, or maybe some of us will actually fight back, and defend our way with attacking words back, arguing, in other words, either passively aggressively or directly aggressively. And I can speak from my own personal experience on this, because I didn't consider myself to be tactless, and yet I realised that people were getting upset or were in some sort of state around the way that I said and did things. And looking back, yes, I wasn't aware of people, because I was coming from my own measure, and I was raised to be tough and take things on the chin and just bottle it all down or fight back. Sometimes I would fight back as good as I got. So I didn't have my sort of sensing of other people's sensitivities wasn't great, and I used everybody as the same measure as me. Well, that doesn't upset me, so why does it upset you? That sort of thing. And it got me into lots of hot water, and I began to explore, and I began to look and see, there are some people who are really sensitive. And as I've got older, I can really sense when people, for me, those types of people are now sort of unsafe in a way, in that way that, I've got to be careful. I can't be fully me. I have to sort of rein myself in a bit, because otherwise they're going to get upset. They could either shout at me, or they could push back against me, or they could block me or leave me, or, do all of those self-protecting things that people do when they feel something from the other person. And there I am, merrily on my way, just being me, and not realising. Been little indicators that have... Sorry, I just blipped out there for a moment. There's been little indicators that have helped me along the way. As somebody shared when we were doing a group experience, somebody shared that actually when I stood up to share, she felt this huge anxiety because she never knew what was coming out of my mouth. And I just thought, wow, that must be something. And yet I can see that I've had that experience as well. When somebody's about to speak in a meeting or something, I'm sort of holding my breath sometimes to think, what are they going to say? Will it be directed at me, or will it be all those sorts of things. So where am I going with this? It's not easy, I think, to separate out. Internet keeps bubbling out for some reason. Anyway, I've put it onto a double charge now. it's not easy to see when people are being, when I perceive that people are being, I think for me, I come from, and I'm sorry about these interruptions. Do you know sometimes when you think that somebody's trying to shove you off? Not that I'm paranoid or anything. When people are deliberately being sort of mean to me, and when I just think people are being clumsy, and I'm more inclined to give myself that sort of permission as well now, because as a receiver of something that I feel upset by, sometimes, yes, you know that saying, you know, like we choose how we feel. Nobody can make us feel anything. Well, on one level, I believe that, and yet on another level, there's something around me giving myself permission to feel the pain of somebody else's behaviour or words. You know, it feels appropriate. Because when I was younger, because I was such a hard nut, you know, I could take it, and I had to actually learn that some things, I had to learn where my boundaries were, because I didn't know, and I would just let anybody more or less say anything or do anything, well, within reason, say anything anyway. You know, I felt that they had a permission to voice exactly what they wanted to me. And I just had to take it. Well, it took me a long time to realise that actually, no, they don't. I have a right to stop what I'm not wanting to hear. And that took me a long, long time, especially with my children, you know, when they were estranging. You know, I just thought I had to stay there and listen. And if they were being what I learnt to be harmful towards me, you know, I had to put this boundary in place. So it can be quite confusing, can this? You know, it's like, well, am I responsible for my feelings? You know, like, how do I take responsibility for my feelings and allow myself to feel and yet still have these boundaries in place? So if you haven't read the book, if you haven't read The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, and you struggle with not taking responsibility for your feelings, and or the opposite of that is that you don't take responsibility for how you are in the world. Although I have to say that as I get older and as I dig into this more, I would want to be me. I would want to be in a place where anybody could say anything, and I can handle myself around that, so that even if somebody was actually verbally attacking me in some way, I would be able to stay present in that moment, not fight back, not flee away from it, and not freeze. And I think that's a big practice for so many people, because as the vibration of the planet, as we start to evolve into more sensitive human beings, I think we've tipped into being oversensitive, and that's where all this political correctness has come from, that we've really had to look at how we are with each other, and I think that's heightened our sensitivity. But on the back of that, what that's brought us is an awareness into how to manage our feelings around that sensitivity, how we respond, how we react, how we take a charge, how we choose to be in those moments when we feel triggered. And I don't think it's, people talk about snowflakes, and I think actually snowflakes, for me, are people who are really hypersensitive and like get sort of heightened emotions at what goes on. And in a way, I think that's really good, because we've been for so long, you know, if you think a few centuries back, I can imagine everybody was well hard, you know, they were living in mud huts, you know, living in basic conditions, and lots of fighting, lots of wars going on. I think we were the other way. I think we were tough and resilient in that way that wasn't sensitive, and so we've had to learn, and now we've swung to another polarity of being super sensitive. I think in time it'll come back, probably not in my lifetime, but maybe it will, I don't know, as we go through this evolution that we're going through with all that's going on in the world at the moment. So I don't think it's too bad to be sensitive. I know I had to learn that. I had to become super sensitive so that I could feel what that felt like, because I'd been the other side of it. I'd been well hard, you know, and I'd taken it all. And when you've got to go to war with each other and not have feelings and just like plow through, that's very useful. And it's not, as a human, evolving into being, coming from love and coming from care. That isn't a good place to be. So I highly recommend this Four Agreements book by Don Miguel. And, you know, if you're a well-hard person like I used to be and gets quite surprised at why people fall over in big heaps and get upset with you, you know, it's good to look at, well, how come I'm so tough? How come I'm so able to take people's stuff and fight my own corner, or however you do it? And then if you're a super sensitive soul, it's like, how do I look after myself whilst I learn how to deal with my triggers? I know one of the members of the group today was saying that triggers were really startling, were quite disabling, I suppose, for some people, you know, but some people don't go outside and don't mix by each other, you know, by... I'm obviously running out of time on Facebook. It keeps blipping me off. So if this makes sense, I'm glad. If it doesn't make sense, that I'm glad too. And yeah, I really do enjoy reading this book. It's more than just about not taking things personally. And it's a practice, is not taking things personally. It can be hard, you know, when you feel that you've upset somebody. You might feel that you need to over-apologise and go into that sort of grovelly and feeling shame and feeling... you know, and there's nothing more embarrassing for somebody who's got over their upset and there's somebody being grovelly about how they upset you and they're carrying it on for weeks. You know, I'm really sorry what I said to you that time, you know, and that can be quite disturbing to have somebody who keeps feeling so bad about themselves that they keep apologising all the time. And no matter how much you tell them, yes, it's fine, they keep wanting to assure themselves that you still love them, still like them, you know. And that's where we're coming from, this insecurity around, will people include me, will they want me? And then there's the opposite of that, well, I don't give a damn if they don't, you know, I'm going to just be me, you know. Aren't we funny? We have our own particular way and we swing between our coping strategies as well. And just being aware of that, of how you do it, you know, like, how do you do it when somebody gets upset with you? And how do you do it when you get upset with somebody else? And it is appropriate. That meme that says nobody... I think it was a female politician's wife in America. They're not called politicians. What are they called in America? President. It was a president's wife, I think, that said... I can't remember her name now. That nobody can make you feel inferior without your permission, which translates into nobody can make you feel anything without your permission. And whilst that's true, that's encouraging us to be well hard, you know, like, well, what you say don't bother me, you know, that sort of attitude, when actually some things that people do say aren't okay to say. And that's when to speak up and put a boundary in place. And also then to go and process those feelings that have arisen, you know, without projecting them back onto the other person, without blaming yourself for being soft or whatever. It's a lovely explore. It's very empowering as well when you realise that actually when somebody said something unkind, that you've got something to say that's kind and firm back. And that's, I think, what a lot of us, well, in my circles, a lot of people struggle with that, and everybody's trying to be nice and kind and careful to the degree that we don't actually bring ourselves fully into the picture, that we're shielding ourselves in some ways for fear of upsetting somebody or fear of being upset by somebody else. You know, and we all have a voice. As I learnt yesterday, it's a bit croaky after yesterday. I was singing yesterday. And I think more than ever, I think now is the time for our voices to be heard. This throat chakra, this lump that we get here, this tightness in our chest because we're not speaking our truth. you know, that we're battening it down, holding it back because somebody might not like it. And I know for me, I have a tendency, if I feel it's not going to be well received, if I believe it's not going to be well received, it sets it up so that it's not very well received, I have to say, because the intention of what I say then comes out on a bit of a force energy. Sometimes fear can very much come across as anger. You know, when you're scared of saying something, it sometimes comes out angry instead of just assertive. And I used to think I was assertive, but actually most of the time I was aggressive, you know, because I was scared of what I was going to say. But also there's a playful part of me that likes to shock, you know, likes to... somebody once said that I come into rooms and throw dead cats on the table. I recognise I've got that shock factor, you know, and that upsets some people. And I'm getting better at it not being so dead, the cat, but also not being so at the effect of somebody else's pushback in the form of upset at me for saying something that was a truth but actually has triggered them in some way. Because many people, you know, when the truth speakers that speak, people often don't want to hear it because it raises stuff in us. And there's that lovely saying, isn't there, that don't shoot the messenger. You know, that's what happened to the messengers in olden times, I believe, that they would race into the castle on their horse and they would declare that the army were over the next hill, and because the person that they told was really angry, they killed them. I don't quite know why I'm laughing at that, but it just strikes me that that still happens in this day and age, that people will say a truth, you know, like point out the obvious about something, and then get loads of flack because people don't want to look. Some people don't want to look at that because it's still an unexplored part of them or the system that we live in or whatever. And the pushback against the messenger is huge. And you'll know this if you're a truth speaker, if you're somebody who's brave enough to say, actually, have you considered it to be like this? And then you get more skilled. That's what I'm getting more skilled as I get older at doing that. Knowing perhaps when it's a good time and not a good time. It's a bit of an explore. It's a bit of a, let's see if we can make some mistakes on how to do it. And that's what it's taken me, is I kept going with it, and it's taken me to make mistakes and think, okay, back to the drawing board. You know, forgiving myself for not getting it right, you know, making a mess or whatever, and cleaning it up. Because I know for the bottom of me, as much as I'm aware of myself, that I do come from a heart-based place. You know, it's coming from a place of goodness. It's not coming from a place of revenge or resentment. I mean, that will slide in occasionally. And mostly when I'm coaching or teaching or sharing my words of wisdom like this, it's coming from a place of, can we all just have a look and shape up and get things together and be more connected as human beings, rather than this I'm right, you're wrong sort of like thing that we have going on, you know, that looking to stretch us all into our humanity and our connectedness and our cooperation, and then we can have fun. Then it's not so heavy, you know. That's my dream. I would love everybody to be sorted so I can just have fun and say what the hell I like. Nobody gets upset, or if they do, they go and deal with themselves. I want to be free to create carnage of Sunday sort. Oh dear me. And I still do it anyway, because it's my truth, you know, and I know and I trust myself that I'm coming from the right place. Anyway, it's beautiful in the UK here today, and I'm hoping that if you are in the UK and you're in the same part of the world as me, that you're enjoying the autumn colours that are coming really quite fast now, and the blue sky. I'm looking out the window here. And the heat, we've got some heat, which is just lovely. So have a sweet Sunday, and I'll see you again real soon. And just see who was on with me. Me put my glasses on. Did you see me with my cow yesterday? That was fun. Oh, Miranda's lots of you. Oh, Linda. I think you must have kept bobbing off and bobbing on as I kept dropping out of signal. Anyway, all right, lots of love to you. Take care of yourself. See you soon.